What's going on, guys? This video is going to be all over the place because it's really hard to comprehensively unite all the things that I see into one linear thing, and just going to have to go for it. But if you haven't seen yesterday's video, then this one won't make much sense to you, so just keep that in mind. We were discussing about how literally from within the Earth there's a volcanic process that takes place, and this lava cools and it turns into some kind of substance that heals the earth and creates this new type of soil, which eventually creates this new type of life. And a process from the sun where the black hole of our previous sun, and there's going to be a newer one that emerges from that black hole, and that would be a bigger, more brilliant sun. And so I was talking about those processes, right, of them coming out, right? They're coming out from within, but it's a tug of war and it's a seesaw because there's also things coming into the black hole as well. And those things are our current reality. So when the new, basically the new soil overtakes the earth, the one below it on a molecular level is going to be broken down and sent piece by piece, molecule by molecule, into that black void that was opened up. Um, it was opened by Horus and Kali and Anubis, but the one who is containing the black hole and and controlling its expansion so it doesn't swallow everything in its sight immediately would be the mysterious one we call Christ. Okay, so um, over time, what you're gonna see is like this place just become a total mirage. It will look like a shadow, like it won't even be here, and you can't really be here actually, and that's why most people will go underground during this process. And this is where like the sort of creepy, scary, not so pleasant stuff happens that I don't really want to talk about, but I'm going to anyway, and then I'll get to the happier stuff later on. So by approximately 2060, 2070, you probably heard about the Georgia Guidestones, population of 500 million. No, you can, that's not right. There's going to be probably around 75 million people at that time remaining on Earth. Most of them will be in underground cities. However, there will be a few pockets of the planet which are like zones that, for whatever reason, um, pieces of life, or you can actually live on the surface. And what's interesting is that those pieces of land are already bought up now by the elites, and whoever is going to remain on the surface, that will be reserved for the elite classes exclusively. So yeah, bastards, right? And basically, in the underground cities, you'll have two kinds of people. You'll have a group of people that will decide to live in virtual reality, and your other group of people that will just live in the underground cities, and some of them will be genetically experimented upon, um, turned into strange creatures and super soldiers, all kinds of unpleasant things, because they can. Um, and the other half will be integrated into something called the brainwave interface hyperlink system. And what that is is that it looks like a spider web and it goes over your brain. So how it works is that they place something up your nose, and then I saw it literally like go in the brain, and it covers the whole brain. And then you go into this egg. It looks like a silver egg. It's mostly just a sensory deprivation chamber. And then your brain is linked to one of the sun simulators. The sun simulators behave like a massive router for this huge alternative reality that they're creating. And there's not just one, there's probably a dozen or so of these realities, different ones that you can voluntarily choose in a lot of cases to place yourself into, um, unless you behave badly. In that case, they're going to insert you into a very hyper realistic and very unpleasant place that you don't want to be in. And that will be a sort of a punishment. But there's another purpose for that. The creation for that is to fracture the soul. Okay? So if you can traumatize and fracture the soul, you can link it to the fractal arcane realms and create this massive maze that these beings from the Crystal Garden depend on these mazes because they think that divine or master souls will be unable to locate them if they could fracture enough souls to create these maze realities. Um, that sounds ridiculous, but that's what I saw. I'm sorry. And basically, as time goes on, um, the the old reality will be broken down. Somebody asked me a question about this. Are is the new one and the old one going to live side by side, where you won't be able to, or would you be able to see each other or jump dimensions? From what I understand is that once that black hole closes, there's a permanent separation that takes place. I don't know what happens before then or who interacts where. I can imagine there must be some sort of interaction. Um, but it's a really strange process to describe. But just try to imagine um, a new reality being overlaid on top of the old one disintegrating on a molecular level and being sucked into a black hole. It's a difficult thing to imagine, but that's the best way I can describe it. Okay? So remember the new soil, that volcanic spongy substance, that's literally the foundation of this new dimension that's coming to fruition. And over time, um, they'll have to rescue these people. So not only are they attempting to fracture some of these souls, they're also creating a bunch of clones. Because remember, what are they trying to do? They're trying to create a technological singularity. If they could create like an infinite singularity, they believe that they could somehow lock themselves in permanently into a place where they can conduct all the hideous stuff that they do. And they also think that they could get out of the black hole that they're stuck in, which is being contained by the one you call Christ, the mysterious figure everyone seems to think they know, but they don't because he's more complex than you'll ever realize. So, anyway, where am I going with this? So, what I'm seeing is that right before that door closes and splits the dimensions, and the old realm goes into the black hole and eventually gets restructured and destroyed on a completely quantum level, basically. And the people that are on the new Earth at that point, they will locate these silver pods where people are in a stasis, and in this case, some are going to be in there for over 100 years plus. They're going to be rescued, and they're going to go through a very long, painful process of rehabilitation, as well as the people who will be traumatized and terrorized by hordes. So I don't know if there's a specific rapture or not. I can tell you that there is a priority group that will have to be cared for first, because the primary focus of the new earth is true divine love and healing. So basically, sorry, just let me continue here for a minute. I did see some visions of the people, and they were different. They were different. They didn't look quite like us, which is a bit surprising. I noticed only two skin tones, which I can't for the love of me figure out. One is like a mulatto, like imagine someone being half white, half black. And the other is a pale white. And they all have bigger eyes than usual. So I'm seeing these strange people, all with all sorts of different, very different types of clothing. But they all have this two specific skin tones, and what that's supposed to mean, I have no idea yet. But I observed some of the children, and I've never seen such happy children in my life, and it was quite a sight to behold. They didn't need computers, they didn't need TVs, they didn't need cell phones, they didn't need anything. And I can tell you, like, just seeing that just like brought me so much joy. Because look at where children are today. They're hooked. They're addicts to these devices. And strange life forms, newer type of life, similar but different. Um, Hard to explain what they look like. I do, I did see what looked like some gigantic dolphins though, which was really interesting to look at. And I also saw someone giving birth, which is appropriate because that's a subject that I've been talking about a lot. What that process looked like was very interesting. You had basically a line of women, and they're standing all in a line, and they have like palm leaves or something. There's some kind of giant leaf, and the pregnant woman, she goes down this ramp, and she goes into this perfectly circular pool. It's a perfect circle, and it's this brilliant blue turquoise color. And around her is a place that kind of looks like Stonehenge. I don't know how to explain it. There's just a bunch of stones in the circle, okay? And she goes into the water, and she then proceeds to give birth, which seemed like a very effortless process with no pain. And then the weirdest and silliest thing happened. One of the, caregivers or whoever, she picks up the baby, raises it to the sky, and then the sun starts to dazzle in this brilliant dance. And everybody's just cheering and clapping. It was just so ridiculous and weird to look at. Like, why would this sun have, like, the sun is like literally taking notice of this child being born, which I thought was so strange because I couldn't come up with that if I tried. It's just so weird. Um, and it's just beautiful. Like their communication. I try to meditate on the way they communicate and talk. And you probably heard many times about telepathic communication, right? That doesn't describe it well enough. It's more than telepathic communication. It's deeper than that. It's imagine like each part of your body is signaling messages, like your heart, your stomach, your mind. They all formulate a message, and your heart especially. And then it's put into one cohesive signal that's being emitted to one another. But I also did hear some physical words too, which was interesting. But most of the time it was this type of almost electrical communication. And not just with people, with all sorts of things, with everything there that was alive. Everything talked, everything communicated. The ground, the sky, you see the sun with the baby. Everything was a cohesive unit. Okay, there was no this or that, or here's this thing right here and this thing right there. No, it's all one. And that sounds stupid. I know you heard that before. I know you probably heard that a million times in all sorts of new age stuff, right? No, like you actually, you really needed, like, I recommend meditating on it and trying to visualize just the depth of that, though, where everything is so beautifully and symmetrically integrated and the communication is so deep that it's unfathomable to feel like really a sense of separation. I mean, you have individuality, yes, of course you do, but a separation. And then one thing I was seeing I couldn't quite understand was the cycles of day and night, which do appear to be the case here too. Even though it seemed different, I don't know how to explain it. Like, it did seem like time was moving a lot faster, or whatever the case may be. Um, it's really hard to explain, but it's almost like it wasn't as clear as day, like here's day and then here's night. Sometimes it was like more of like just that cohesive unit I'm talking about, everything integrated. Sometimes in this place it seemed like day and night were simultaneous. That's the only way I can explain it. Basically, depending on your perspective. Okay, so how long? And what about one more thing, right? What about the people actually going there? Well, I think most of the population will not be, raptured. It seems like they're going to be born there. And it seems like there's going to be a lot of these births, and this place is going to accommodate an absolutely massive population, which you'll have no problem holding, because it's probably 4 or 5 times the size of this place, first of all. And it's completely different. It's a different world. It's it has very little in common to what we have here. It's unfathomable for them to harm each other or even think of such a thing. It doesn't even cross their mind. Like it's just like the things that I was able to see. Like the thing that got to me the most was the children, though. It's like, you know how awesome it is to see like real joy when children are actually truly happy. Because this world, what is this world doing to children? They're being trafficked. They're being used as slaves, forced to work at young ages, you know, going to indoctrination center schools. It's not a good place, guys. It's not. This is not a good place. I'm sorry. This is an evil place. And you can thank these dark deities who were so selfish that they wanted to experiment and create things that did not match in terms of DNA, in terms of soul symmetry, so to speak. Things that were not supposed to go together, they put them together and they created something so evil that it ended up turning into an infinite black void, and it ended up turning into a bottomless pit, like the Bible says. It's so dark, it's a bottomless pit. And that's what we're facing here, and that's why there cannot be a link between the new reality and the old. Permanent separation. It will take time. It won't happen overnight. There will be a lot of trauma and a lot of things that happen before that, and unfortunate things. And then the question always is, do the ends justify the means? Possibly in this case, maybe they actually do, but I'm not going to speak for that. I'm just saying, what I'm trying to say is that we will return to paradise. We absolutely will. I am so certain of this. I'm beyond certain of it. And it's cool. Meanwhile, all we could do for now is just try to love the best we can with what we have. As hard as that is sometimes, love is the hardest thing to do. But we need to try. We need to keep trying and never give up.